comes up. He knew you were going to go through a heartbreak and a disappointment and a loss and a setback. But the enemy didn't understand he meant it for evil. But God meant it for our good. All things work together for good to those that love the Lord.
I know some of you don't feel like making any noise in church, but if those of you that can be honest to say last year was a rough year for me, but I stand at the side of the road to announce the best is yet to come. If you don't feel like you're going to get your life back, please don't use your voice. But if you feel like after everything you've been through in your life, God is getting ready to add it back to you, I dare you to stand on the faith of a homeless man in Ohio and use your voice to declare the enemy meant it for evil, but God is going to work it out for your good. I come with great expectation today. You may be seated. I came with great expectation today to talk to some person who's at a place where you feel like you're getting ready to lose your family. Somebody who's really at your wit's end because even though you're trained, you may be educated, you can't find a job. There's somebody in the room that you were faithful, you were committed, and the person who you thought was going to stay with you walked away from you. God told me to make sure that you understand that while it is that you were losing stuff, I made sure your voice was still intact. There was a man by the name of blind Bartimaeus who was standing by the road, and the enemy thought that he had victory over Bartimaeus because he took Bartimaeus' vision. But while he took Bartimaeus' vision, he forgot that while Bartimaeus could not see, he could still speak. And isn't that an incredible word for the children of God who are in church today? That sometimes life will put you in a place where you can't see where you're going, but you can still talk your way out of it. And then there are so many people while looking at you today, they got no idea what you came out of. They don't know how you were stripped of your virtue and stripped of your peace and stripped of your happiness. But the enemy underestimated you because he thought you weren't going to talk about it. But you came to church and say, I had some good days and I had some bad days. And if you make me testify about what I've been through, it might make me cry, but I'm still gonna shout about it. If I start talking about the things that I saw, the people that used me and the situation that should have broken me, there's no way I should be in church and not be in a coma. But I thank God right now my voice is still intact. Ladies and gentlemen, that video was in fact shot 4 weeks ago, and it sat for 1 week. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it went viral. And after it went viral, all kind of offers began to open up. Already, he has done a mac and cheese commercial. Oprah Winfrey has offered him a job to do the voiceovers for the OWN network. He has secured a job to be the spokesperson for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Jack Nicholson called him yesterday and asked him to be in a movie with him. I can't talk to nobody in here. And after it was discovered that not only was he homeless, but that he had spent time in jail, some nosy busybody at Fox News called the president of Cleveland Cavaliers and said, are you still gonna hire him after he did time in jail? And the president of the Cleveland Cavaliers said, I believe everybody deserves a second chance. And that there's somebody in this room that ought to thank God there were some people that tried to block you, some people that tried to limit you, some people that tried to leave you out, but there's somebody that's shouting today because God is a God of another chance. And if God gave you another chance, would you give him glory that God is doing something out of your life? Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know how it is you were able to hold dry eyes, but to see Ted Williams reunited with his mother, who is now 90 years of age. And his mother said, son, all I ask is that you don't mess up. And Ted Williams, with tears in his eyes, says, I just wanted God to keep her around long enough to see me get myself together. Ladies and gentlemen, I came to make an announcement to you. God is going to keep your family members alive long enough to see you in the best stage of your life. I know some of y'all don't have a dysfunctional family, but those of you that believe God is going to keep your family together, because there is a promise over your life. In Judges chapter 11, we meet a man by the name of Jephthah. And the Bible records for us in Judges 11, verse number 1. Here is Jephthah's story. It's only in one verse. And his story is a lot like many of our story who's in the sanctuary. It says that he is a mighty man of war. But watch how church folk treat him. They say he's a mighty man of war, but his mother was a prostitute. See, that's how people are in the hood, is that as soon as you try to do something good, they'll try to remind you what you came out of. But what God wants me to tell you is you can be mighty even if you came out of a mess. And there's somebody in the room, the reason why you shouting is because you don't look like what you came out of. Is if folk knew what kind of childhood you had, what kind of life you grew up in, what kind of house you were in, you shouldn't even be in church. But because God handpicked you and said, I'm not going to let your family life swallow you up, but I'm going to let you be mighty in spite of your family, you ought to be thanking God right now that something good came out of my bad experience. Something good is getting ready to come out of what you went through in your childhood. I know some of you all can't handle that because you're sitting in church acting like your childhood is not tainted, acting like there are no stains in your past. And some of you are in the witness protection program and you're trying to act like something you are not. But God says, I cannot heal you, hear me, until you can face what you have dealt with. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you something that blows my mind. It's gonna mess you up. Is that when you are finally get to the point where you can talk about what you've endured, that's when you've been healed. When you can finally confront the thing that tried to break you and let them know it hurt me, but it did not mess me up. And I know some of y'all got a living, breathing testimony. My greatest miracle is I can love the folk in my family when they the ones that hurt me. And I need somebody in this room to just give God glory right now that I'm still here. So this young man named Jephthah is like a lot of us who are in this room, because he wasn't even a part of the real family. God help me, he was the outside child. He was in fact the product of another mother. And his stepbrothers, watch this, who had issue with him, tried to in fact castigate him and throw him out. What you got to understand, for those of you who are anointed and you got a call on your life, the reason why you got so much hateration is because you ain't like them. They wish, God help me, you were as small-minded. They wish you didn't have as much passion. They wish that you were not as gifted. They wish that you were not as focused. They want you to just settle with your life, and every time you try to do something progressive, they got an attitude as if me helping my life got anything to do with yours. But this is the hour you got to celebrate my difference. I ain't got to be like everybody else. I got to be who God made me to be. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. When you are not like everybody else, folk gonna handle you different. If you would just dress like them, if you would just have the same taste as them, if you would just settle for what it is that they want out of their life, you would not have the issue and the opposition that you have. But because God knew you while you were still in your mother's womb, There were some things God just couldn't allow you to stomach. There were some things he just wasn't going to let you process. And that's why, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of you have nothing in common with the people who you were raised with. God help me in here. Y'all were raised under the same roof, but you got a different vision. You got a different capacity. You got a different kind of swag on your life, and they think you better. No, I don't think I'm better. Y'all just know how I roll. I'm at a different level than how it is that you able to function. And the text says in Judges chapter 11, get out of here. We don't have the same mother. We don't come from the same upbringing. And watch what they say to Jephthah. You will not get any of daddy's inheritance. I don't know who I'm talking to, but I feel like I'm talking to 70 of you in the room. God told me to tell the 70 of you, you are going to be a success even when your family won't support you. I can't hear nobody. Y'all ought to be giving God the glory. They know that you're struggling. They know how hard it is. They know what it is that you need. And here it is. They got what you need to help you, but they still won't do it. God said, don't depend on them. Depend on me. Says, I'm going to be great. Here it is. And I need y'all to hear me very clearly. I'm going to be great without y'all giving me a dime. God, I just set somebody free right here. Can I say it to you again? I'm going to get the car and y'all ain't got a cosign. I'm going to get the house and I don't want your name on it. God said, I'm going to give it to you without their support. I don't care how strong you think you are, how thugged out you claim to be. Rejection will hurt you. Y'all trying to act like you ain't never been there. Rejection will make you second guess yourself. It'll make you ask questions about your value and about your worth. But God says, I needed you to go through a season of rejection just so you could see your assignment. You had to understand that whoever rejected you is not over you. But I needed you to be delivered from them because I am a jealous God. And I know this don't mean nothing to some of y'all, but for the 50 y'all I'm preaching to, you ought to thank God for whoever rejected you. Because the moment they got rid of you is the moment God put his hands on you and said, this is the call of God over your life. You may be seated. How do I lived through rejection from the people that were supposed to cover me? How am I supposed to live through rejection when I thought they really loved me? How do I go through rejection when it ain't somebody I dated? It's somebody who helped raise me. Do you know what it feels like to love somebody more than they love you, and it's not reciprocated? That there's somebody in the room under the sound of my voice sitting in a green chair right now who has been unable to process and function because of who rejected you. And you don't even know that the rejection was a setup. Oh my God. It's because had Jephthah not been rejected, he would have never got the next assignment. And I know some of y'all, you're trying to be strong and hold the tears back and trying to act like it don't matter and say whatever, but for real, it hurts you. But you ought to thank God in this moment that the enemy meant it for evil, but God is getting ready to work it out for your good. And I thank God my rejection from man is my acceptance from God. And they come back to him and say, Jephthah, we need you to lead us. And Jephthah says something that you rarely find in the Bible that I hope will help about 30 of you in the room. Because some of y'all been playing the low road too long. They said, come back, fight for us, because if you fight for us, we'll win. Now hear this, preachers. It was not, Nicole, until he got rejected that he figured out his value. So he says, all right, I'm going to help y'all fight, but if I'm coming back in charge. All right. See, last year you were waiting on a chance. This is the year where you'll have a choice. Oh my God. Oh my God. God is saying in this year, you're going to be able to negotiate your own terms. God help. I ain't just taking the first thing that comes. I want to make sure this is a deal that's going to help me. And if it don't help me, I ain't signing up for the project, boo. Find somebody else. I got to make sure I'm covered. See, before when I was looking for a chance, I just wanted anybody and I'll take whatever you give me. God help me. But now that I know I got choices, God help me. I don't just want a man. I need somebody that's working. God help me. Somebody gonna love my kids. I can't hear somebody that got dreams. Somebody who ain't insecure. I need to make sure I'm picking the right thing, because God, you done gave me choices in the matter. Says I have so upgraded you that you will not be a beggar. God help me. Another day in your life. So somebody can't hear me in the room. I said you will not have to beg people for nothing another day in your life. Some of y'all didn't get it yet. Let me give it to you again. I said you don't have to ask nobody for nothing another day in your, I'm talking to the last 5 rows. You ain't got to beg nobody to do nothing another day in your life. Ted Williams said something yesterday, and I'll close here. He said, I'm so excited. It is, because I don't know what to choose. My problem last year was trying to find something to eat. This year, my biggest problem is figuring out where I'm going to eat. God, I can't hear nobody in the room. God says, I need y'all to brace yourself, because this is the year you got choices. If you don't want no choices, don't you shout with us. But if this year you want your biggest problem to be, which thing do I choose? Be seated, please. My prayer as your pastor is that the greatest obstacle you have to face in 2011, here it is the problem of too many doors. God, y'all don't have that kind of faith. I said I want y'all to have a headache because God keeps throwing stuff at you and you're not sure which thing to take first, but God said this is the year, because of what you went through last year, this year is going to be pressed down, shaken together, running over. His mother, Ted Williams' mother, at 90 years of age, said in the interview on the early show, I just hope the options aren't too much. I need y'all to hear me very clearly. I want you to begin to pray, Lord, only send me what I can handle. This is just for the mature people in here. See, some of us can't handle too much because you arrogant and you ain't even got nothing. God is saying in this hour, I want to see whether you're going to start tripping over the little stuff or you'll thank me for the big stuff. She said, I don't want him to get too many options and too many opportunities too fast, because it'll lead him back to the same people. And he responded, Ma, I'm done with that. I already know in this season I can't go back. I'm still preaching. Here it is. He said, now every option that I choose is got to help my children. Ladies and gentlemen, I know everybody can't shout, but what I'm praying to God, when you open the door for me, don't let it just bless me. Let the door be so big that my children are getting ready to walk through it without any struggle, without any issue. The man who filmed him in Columbus, Ohio, said, I'm so excited. It was a slow business day. It was a Monday before Christmas. And my wife and I were just coming out of church, driving down the highway, and I see this man. I want to just give him $1. And then he opened his mouth. This is what the commentator said. He said, I thought to myself, what an incredible voice he has. And I drove away. But after I drove away, I couldn't shake the sound. Hallelujah. So I turned the car around and I started driving up and down the street. I said, I gotta find the one that's got the voice. He said it was a whole lot of people living under tents, a whole lot of people who were homeless, but not everybody had the voice. I wasn't sure when I saw him again if it was the same one, but when he opened his mouth, y'all, I came to have church. I said, this is the one I gotta do something for. Can I tell you, in 2010, you made a sound in the heaven, and God said, I walked right past that row. I tried not to stop, but when I heard the sound of a praiser, I had to stop right where I was and give them their life.